Welcome back into the Sports Source. This segment brought to you by A.G. Hines Company. No one in East Tennessee can offer you what A.G. Hines can. 100-plus years of history in the Knoxville community. That lops out just about everybody else right there. But cutting-edge building materials and tools that others just don't carry. Great prices, better prices than you're going to find at most places around town, and the expertise to help you get your home improvement project started and started right. A.G. Hines Company and aghines.com. If you are starting your own do-it-yourself project, start it down on Hines Street in downtown Knoxville with A.G. Hines Company. All right, back with Vince, Ryan, and Josh, and just want to talk about what you guys saw on the practice field for the offense this week. Vince, I'll start with you. You can go with newcomer that caught your eye, that just looks the part. You can go with a veteran that looked improved. You can go with a concern, something that surprised you. What was your number one takeaway on the offensive side of the ball this week?
I would say that Tennessee has a good group of wide receivers. I mean, you'd look at Ramel Keaton. I've seen him drop one ball so far. I mean, he catches everything. He wins every one-on-one rep. I think he is underrated. He is kind of taking the off-season workout program of what Jalen Hyatt did a year ago. You know, really working those jug machines. And Hypo was talking about you getting in the facility late at night, and he's there catching balls. So he looks terrific to me. Plus Dante Thornton, Squirrel White. There's going to be some good players that won't get to see the field early in the year, kind of like Ramel Keaton last year. There's other things, but that group of wide receivers, to me, Brew McCoy looks great, awfully good.
I would agree with that. Dante Thornton, another guy we talked about that looks the part.
Transferred in from Oregon, yeah.
Yep, but Ramel Keaton, the one, if you're just looking at kind of what we see on the practice field, and we do have to throw in the obvious asterisk, they haven't put on pads. We've seen very little 11 on 11, but Ramel Keaton to me looks really smooth. I think he looks improved. I think Ethan Davis looks really good. That's somebody we talked about this spring. It was unfortunate he got injured in the spring game. Well, he's back at 100%, looks really good. Maybe the most interesting development, though, the first few days, Gerald Mincy working at left tackle a lot. And I don't know what to make of that yet. I still think they might cross-train him a bit, but I thought that was your starting right tackle. Now it looks like it's Jeremiah Crawford at the moment, but that's still a battle that's going to be played out over the next few weeks.
Yeah, that was my biggest surprise, and again, we'll see what that means over the next few weeks. But Mincy had kind of been penciled in. He's the guy that NFL teams are talking about well, let's see what he does this year because he could be a draft prospect. And it looks like Crawford right now, again, early on. And I think that's interesting because as good as Hendon Hooker was and Jalen Hyatt was, I think the most difficult player to replace is Darnell Wright because he's the one that was a top 10 pick.
Yep.
He was a dominant right tackle, and those are difficult to find. So that was my biggest surprise to start things out. One other positive I would say is the depth at running back. Remember a year ago, and they ended up being fine. They ran the ball fine. They put up numbers, but they brought in a transfer who lasted for just a few days in the middle of camp because the coaches were like, I don't know where we are with numbers. But now that you have Dylan Sampson a year older, you have Selden come in as a true freshman, Deshaun Bishop, and then Khalifa Keith, who are also there as part of depth at the running back position, plus Wright and Small just being a year older, better, and healthier. The running back position, I think, could be a strong unit for Tennessee.
And I don't want to get the hype going too much here, but I will say the quarterbacks, I think, have looked pretty good so far. Joe Milton's been smooth. Nico Iamaleava has looked better, I think, than he did in the spring. Joe Milton had one throw on the first day, I believe, when we got to see kind of 8 periods and extended look at practice. Kind of floated one over the top across the middle on like a 20-yard crossing route to a slot receiver. Great throw that I think showed a lot of touch. The kind of throw we didn't see him make in the past. So I think a lot of encouraging signs at quarterback too.
Yeah, in this he needs a change-up discussion, I see that in practice. So it's not like he's just gunning it through the hands of receivers. I do see that. I think he's been pretty accurate. Plus, he said this week that he lost weight. He's lost about 10 pounds. He was 245 at the end of last year. He's down to 235. He said that makes a big difference for him in his mobility. Plus, he has different mechanics where he's using his legs. He's not as sore with his arm because he's not relying on that arm strength. So it's kind of fully coming together, and I think the coaching and the guidance that he's gotten has helped him, and I think you'll see the results of that this year.
Woo, woo. I hear the hype train.
That's why I want to caution. This doesn't all mean it's going great.
It is practice versus game.
And what we get to see, it's mostly routes on air and stuff, but it looks pretty good.
Well, the names that people wanted to ask about, you brought up Nico. Thoughts on, Ryan mentioned him. Thoughts on Iamaleava, anything to throw in?
Yeah, really smooth. He gets so many compliments from his teammates. And Jay Graham, VFL, told me on our show that he's special. He's going to be special, and his run after catches running out of the pocket escapability was elite. And a lot of the guys have talked about him throwing on the run. It just looks really smooth and
And
poised.
off platform.
Off platform, right.
Which he had the one in the spring game that caught everybody's eye.
He'll still occasionally have a ball that hits the ground and routes on air drills, but that's kind of not what he does best. He's one of these guys that's better when the lights come on. I think that's okay. So an occasional missed throw in practice, not the end of the world.
Yeah, chemistry, rhythm with his receivers. He may be behind where Joe is. He should be. He's 2 years behind in terms of time that they've spent together. But the skill set, get the ball out quick, he's natural.
A lot of people use
that.
the word humble with him, too, which people would be surprised at, I think.
In terms of hype train, you mentioned Dante Thornton. Any other thoughts on Dante Thornton and what you saw and what you expected to see and what you got?
He looks the part of what we heard. And there's a reason during the offseason, Joey Halsley was talking him up, and then at his introductory press conference for camp, talked him up again. And each receiver has a different skill set, right, among the big four. And that's going to create interesting conversations, already has, I'm sure, with the coaches of, okay, what do we do? Because it's been 3 guys, the tight end position. Jacob Warren's still going to factor in a big way, plus these 4 wide receivers they want out there. But you watch Thornton and Squirrel White line up 1-2, 2-1, whichever, because they went back and forth. You have pretty much the tallest guy in the field run his drill with Thornton, then the smallest guy in the field in Squirrel White, but 2 very different skill sets that each can take advantage of within this offense.
And Thornton has the ability, and he has worked on the outside as well, so you can move him around, match him up. And when your OC calls him a freak with his athleticism and his skill set, I mean, that's a pretty big compliment there. And they say he has put in the work, too. He's not just coming in and, like, trying to be a mercenary, is the way Halsley said it. He's adjusting and working with the quarterbacks constantly extra to try to get on up to speed.
This is probably going to be a down the road thing as opposed to a this year thing, but another guy who's getting heavy praise from his coaching staff is Emmanuel Okoye, who came over. He was a defensive lineman. He's coming over from Africa. He was a defensive lineman. He's now training at tight end. Your thoughts on what you saw out of him and the way he just looks?
Well, the tight ends coach said he could be the most athletic guy to ever play the position.
Ever.
And he's a few days into playing it in America. But he does look the part in terms of showing up, and you hear how athletic he is. That stands out. He needs to get bigger, needs to learn more, definitely learn more, which they knew coming in. But athletically, he fits that.
Clearly still has a lot to learn. When you look at him from a distance, you kind of think edge rusher almost, but he has such a freakish skill set at tight end. You can see it with the leaping ability.
Yeah.
I mean, what kind of catch radius is a guy like that going to have with his wingspan and leaping ability?
That's all good. I still know that on this team, I'm more worried about defense. I would be very tempted if I were the coaching staff. I mean, they know what his skill set is more than I do, but everybody kind of projected him as a defensive end, and that's where I think
he is the kind of guy that coaches fight over. Like
I think I would have let Tim Banks win that one personally.
Well, I asked him, I said, what was the discussion, offense or defense? And he said, they let me choose, and he wanted to play tight end.
Another mistake, never let the kid choose. Right.
Well, maybe to start, and then you can kind of work.
Yeah, like Randall Cobb at Kentucky. Yeah, well, let's play quarterback. Now, look at this wide receiver position over here. All right, very good. When we come back, let's do the same thing. When we come back, we're going to flip the coin and just talk about defense. So, which guys popped? What were the stories of the week? It's on the defensive side of the ball when we come back on the Sports.